I think the whole because Dragon Quest, a lot of people love Dragon Quest 11. Uh, I gotta play the new one, the S for Switch. Because matter of fact, I did play the one for PS4. I enjoyed it. I put 120 something hours into it. I did everything that it was supposed to be done pretty much. But by him not talking, just it makes me feel like the character is just not present. I don't feel
Okay, but hold on.
I'm in the game.
I need to take a shot at that though, because I think for starters, let me preface what I'm about to say. Let me preface what I'm gonna say with this. Just because a character does not talk does not mean that character is not well developed. One.
Yeah, that's true.
Two, I think this is more about you.
Dragon Quest 11, the hero, that's a different story. But go ahead.
I think this is more about you. I think you do not have the ability to resonate with characters who have profound. I don't think you resonate with the profoundness and silence from these characters. And I guess like Mitch, Samus would be an example, but Mario, I think Mario's a counter example, as in Mario is not a well-developed character. Like when I say character development, I mean like how much do we know about his personality? You know, the things that he loves to do, his dispositions, his subtleties. Like we don't actually know that much about Mario in that regard. And so Nintendo has no excuse to make him silent. Link is different. We know a lot about Link, and he does not say anything. Yep. And that's what makes him profound, because we learn so much about him, and he never vocalizes anything. But you know, we get to see his subtleties in action. We get to see, you know, his dispositions and the way that he handles things and the way that he reacts to things. And he's actually, you know, very emotional for somebody who never. Mario, fucking Mario, we see him happy and we see him going through pain and we see him having fun. But like, what other scenarios have we what other contexts do we know Mario in? And so in the case of Mario,
he's like Mickey Mouse. I forgot the word for it. Mickey Mouse and Felix the Cat, where they're just characters that are there, and their supporting cast makes them better.
Yeah, absolutely. But in the case of those characters, I agree with you 100%. That's just it's only partial laziness. I'll say partially because with characters like that, in which their faces are bigger, you know, than their platform, you do not want to make it relatable for only a certain demographic of people. You want it to be relatable to as much people as possible. And so you keep them as basic as possible. And you let people fill in those gaps themselves. That's okay with those characters. But you know, profound characters like Link and Samus, not everybody relates to those characters, man. Not everybody relates to those characters. And so like they don't have the luxury of doing that, which is why those characters could never be the face of Nintendo. But I think that you do not resonate with profoundness and silence. As in, I think for somebody like yourself, you will perceive the intellectual based off their ability to vocalize their intellectuality. But I'm not sure if you could perceive the intellectuality for somebody who does not vocalize the intellectuality, if that makes any sense.
That makes a lot of sense. I will agree with that to a degree.
And to me?
Is because certain characters I will. Certain characters I can't agree with that. I'm trying to think of one that I could agree with that with. My thing is like, okay, for example, like with Link, I will say like with Link, they give you the presumption that Link is talking. That's my thing. They make you believe that he's talking like, oh, okay, like if a character is talking to another character, and then
that's right. You're right about that. I forgot about that. You're right.
And the character doesn't say anything. Then and then the other character answers you like you're saying something. That's what I'm talking about. In a lot of games, and I'm like, well, wait a minute.
And you know what?
They do that. That's what they just did on Pokemon. Like, you're not giving me. What we just read, this dude just said in the interview. Well, we're giving you the opportunity to choose. No, you're not giving me the opportunity to choose anything or say anything, because of the fact that it's already pre-established what these characters are going to say. So instead of giving me a more organic feel of the story by you giving me the outlooks as making it actually an interactive book or an interactive movie. You're trying to give me the false perception that I'm playing as this character, but even though I'm playing as this character, you're not even giving me the opportunity to say anything. The story is just being forced upon me without any dialogue. So it's just making like basically my character doesn't even need to be there. I might as well be like on Skyrim and just be a first person and just view the story that way. Does that make sense? Rather than
that does make sense. That does make sense.
If the character is, because the story is just going around me, like again, Pokemon, the dude just you get to the part right in the beginning of the story, and the dude's brother, your rival's brother, is the main guy, right? He's the champion of the world, or whatever. So he comes down and he's talking to you, and he just says, "Here, I'm gonna give you a Pokemon." So you just look, and then he just gives you the Pokemon. Then his brother, your rival, comes in just like, okay, well, all right, Cross, because I had his name Cross. No, I had his name Ryder. All right, Ryder. So we're gonna battle, and Ryder's, and so we're gonna battle right now. And then you just jump into battle. He doesn't give.
Ryder should be like, "Yeah, what's up, bitch?" That's Ryder. What's up, bitch? Let's battle then.
Yeah, he could be like, they're saying it's lazy. That's what I mean. A lot of, even like my favorite game, Chrono Trigger. I even thought about this. How would I make Chrono talk? How would I put him in a what kind of personality would he have? See, when I feel that a character that doesn't talk, this is my theory on it. Character doesn't talk. It's not that I'm not getting that their intellect by them not talking. It's this that I'm not getting anything from them because they're not doing anything. They're just there. Like, and I love Chrono, but what makes Chrono is his actions. Like, okay, how do I put this? I'm gonna give you the best example. The best example. You know who doesn't talk that much, and he damn near might as well be a silent protagonist? From my second favorite game, Cloud. Cloud Strife does not talk that much.
I was actually thinking about that right now.
But my point is, Cloud says enough to propel the story where you get a feel of who he is, even though it's confusion, even if it's cockiness. It's just how he, and in his confusion, his apprehension, just with the subtlety of the words or the ... that he says. But on the flip side, if you have a character like Link, where he's just, and he just nodding when a character's like imagine my bro. Imagine if that fateful scene where Cloud is explaining about Sephiroth. How are you going to explain that scene if you have a silent protagonist? So Tifa's going to.
You know what? You have a really good point.
That's my point, and that's why
you know what?
It's because you're taking an element out of the game that where you're just making a silent, you're making a mute because it's easier to. It's like when we're in the real world right now. Me and you are talking. How am I gonna have a conversation with you if you're not saying anything? You're disagreeing. Look, if this conversation we just had right now, it wouldn't even be open dialogue because
No, in the case of Link, I will say that I think I did project Cloud's personality on Link a bit, and I did forget that Link actually gives a lot of vocal-driven feedback, which should be, it should be dialogue. It should be dialogue for sure. I think Cloud is an excellent example of, somebody who actually is a quiet, not talkative person, but can still be a very, interesting, silent protagonist. Yeah, I think Cloud.
Oh yeah, they could even do that. Like, I know I'm bringing Final Fantasy again, but Squall doesn't talk that much either. He thought he had a lot of inner monologue.
You get to know his thoughts, which is equally as valuable in my opinion.
Like, so even if a character is not, what I'm saying is you have to make a game or a situation or a story that's catered to the story. Like, okay, imagine Goku not talking. That's kind of how Chrono was on Chrono Trigger. He's Goku of that story. He's not talking.
Uh, yeah, that's not gonna work, but